maybe the topic and then we can begin the discussion.
Okay. My name is Bruce Furman. I live in Midtown. I'm a homeowner. I've lived on and off in Palo Alto some 30 years or so.
Okay.
What else do you want to know?
Oh, that's good enough. So why don't you introduce the topic?
Okay. So I normally don't respond to this, but I saw your email inviting people to comment on the change in the parking situation on El Camino Real.
Mhm.
That's a pretty simple, straightforward issue, and I just thought I'd contact you to voice my opinion.
Okay, please. What is your opinion?
Okay. So first of all, to say obviously the changes about bike lanes. I'm a casual bike rider. I do ride my bike. When I ride my bike, I pretty much don't go in areas where there aren't bike lanes, so I use bike lanes. On the other hand, I do most of my daily activities by car. And I don't think the bike lane should be prioritized, not just over drivers, but more specifically and more importantly over the success of the businesses located on El Camino Real. And my understanding is that the business environment is somewhat challenged, and the first priority should be to support that business environment. I'm all for bike lanes in general, but I think it has to be weighed against whatever impacts it has, whatever negative consequences. And I think I think the business environment in Palo Alto in general, and probably in El Camino Real in particular, is challenged. A lot of times, personally, when I think of going to a business, there aren't a lot of big attractive businesses along El Camino Real. It's usually kind of small businesses, and I think we should do everything we can to support that business environment. So I don't know the data, but if the data shows that it would impact the business either by removing parking places for customers or employees or whatever, that should take priority. And I think there are alternative bike lanes. Obviously, it's a slightly longer, but going along Park Avenue or some of the other places, it's not like you can't get around anyways.
Okay. Okay, cool. Um, are you aware that Menlo Park and Mountain View are having bike lanes on El Camino?
Yes, actually, I just happened to be a business where I parked on El Camino Real and Mountain View near Shoreline to
Mhm.
visit a business this past Friday afternoon. Um, that particular business did have some parking in back, but in spite of what Mountain View might be doing, it seems to me maybe Palo Alto's a little more struggling than Mountain View in terms of the business environment. And I think we should do what's in our own interest, even if we're sort of breaking a chain, so to speak, in terms of bike lane access.
Okay. Um, so I totally agree with you in terms of the business environment in Palo Alto. It's pretty terrible, right? I mean, we have so many like I think we have the highest vacancy we've ever had. I mean certainly in the commercial and I think retail as well. So definitely I'm with you on the struggling businesses, right? Like retail businesses is it's pretty much a disaster, right? Yeah, I agree with you on that. Um, so um, are I'm not as tuned in on it, but how are the retail businesses in Mountain View and Menlo Park? Are they not much impact?
I honestly don't have the data. I would just say, as one person, generally, when I need to go do something, I kind of look outside Palo Alto because the assumption is the businesses in Palo Alto are harder to find and smaller and so on. It's not a principle. It's not like I'm just saying I don't want to come to those businesses. I'm just saying from a matter of experience, um, because traditionally, just I guess land area available for businesses and costs, it seems more thriving elsewhere. Of course, my impression has nothing to do with data, so I would urge you in the city to look at the data. but that's my sense of it.
Mm. I think businesses are not just challenged on El Camino. I see it everywhere. Like a lot of the retail business. I mean, look at like University Avenue, right? Or even California Avenue. There's just a lot of vacancies, right? What do you
Well,
think
I
there's
notice in particular, sorry to interrupt. Yes, I've certainly noticed on California Avenue plenty of vacancies.
yeah. What do you think that I mean, and maybe I'm not right about this, but it seems like there's more than other cities, like more than Mountain View, more than, you know, Menlo Park. Um, do you get that feel too? And if so, why do you think that it's like that?
I'm guessing it's just because traditionally Palo Alto is smaller in general, is less land area and business commercial rents, I think, have been higher. I don't have data, so I could be wrong about this.
Mm,
I'm not, I haven't investigated this. Um, but it does seem like, there's some land area issue in Palo Alto. It has traditionally been a bedroom community more than some of the other areas. And I just want to mention one connected issue that also appeared in the newspaper. Another parking issue is the California Avenue, Ventura sort of area. And I understand the city wants to support housing there, and
mm,
whoops, that's my alarm to sign on. Sorry. Um, to loosen the parking requirements. I'm just responding to my sense of it. Obviously, I would encourage the city to look at data, not my or anyone else's
sure.
personal sense, but whether tenants in those areas are, is a rule, working at home and doing all their shopping locally or trying to use their cars. And if they're trying to use their cars, how is that going to work? And whether it's just the statement of being within a half a mile of a Caltrain station means you don't need your car, that doesn't seem plausible to me. If the data shows otherwise, I would certainly accept data. I'm an ex-engineer. I think data is very important,
Sure.
but I just want to be sure that the city in general is not trying to not look at that data. If it's making decisions just based on the fact that there's some standard that allows us to do that, allows us to waive parking
Mhm.
if people are living within a half a mile of Caltrans. Therefore, we're going to do it regardless of what, and say, well, they'll come around and stop driving eventually. I think that's ridiculous. So again, I would encourage the city to look at the appropriate data for that parking situation as well.
Okay. Well, I'm also an engineer, so I'm really into data as well. And I think if that's what data shows, that's what we should do, right? So I'm no question about it. I think sometimes it's a little bit hard to get the data because it's more of a counterfactual thing. You can't really know until you can I guess you could simulate it, I suppose, but it's a little bit hard to know. But um, but I do agree with you that we should be data driven, right? For sure. Um, but back to the thing of just struggling businesses in our city. One of the things I've heard about why it's been really tough is we have a very, very onerous permitting process. I know that there was a smoothie shop that was trying to get in, this is before the pandemic, trying to get in on University Avenue. And they spent 3 years, well, 2 to 3 years paying rent and not being able to open up their smoothie shop. And I think that's also a factor that makes it tough and why, we don't have as many thriving businesses in our city.
Is that different from other cities,
Oh
from
yeah,
the surrounding
yeah. We
cities?
looked at that one. So that one we have data. So the permitting process in Palo Alto is like no other. It is truly onerous.
Well, I went through permitting as a homeowner to renovate my house. Obviously, commercial is different, but yes, I understand that. One thing I know commercial goes through that homeowner doesn't is aesthetics. I know they at least maybe they've changed it, but they used to evaluate commercial buildings based on how they fit in and so on, and all the different aesthetics. And I think that just adds to everything.
Mm. Yeah, I think in our city, thing that also makes it tough for businesses is just there's a lot more regulation. So it's a lot tougher to do business in our city. I think, when the city the city used to double in size every day. A lot of people used to drive in and so we used to have a lot of people. But I think one of the issues is that a lot of people work from home now, right? And
Right.
in fact, a lot of startups aren't started in Palo Alto anymore. They started somewhere else. Um, and so, and so we don't have the influx of people coming to our city anymore. So that's also made it tough. And so I think the tough regulatory environment plus, this fact that the city isn't, doubling in size anymore means that the retailers in general have really been suffering. It's been very tough.
Well, going along with what you're saying, especially in tech, which I think was in the downtown area, and otherwise, yes, that's more than anything else. People are working from home.
Yeah. Well, not just that. In the tech sector, there's been a big downturn, right? So there's been layoffs. I'm not sure you've been reading the papers on this, but there's been layoffs almost every single month, right? There's like, we get these things called
Yes,
warn notices of all the layoffs,
I,
right?
I am
Yeah.
I am aware of that. And then people are coming in 2 days a week. I mean, maybe no days a week, but two,
Yeah.
3 days a week if they are coming in the
Well, the
most part.
staff, city staff doesn't come in every week either, right? So, I mean,
Right.
yeah, so a lot less people coming into our city. And so, in the past, Palo Alto could have a really tough regulatory environment because there were a lot of people here and people just will put up with it. But right now, the city I don't think is doubling anymore, at least not during the day. And so as a result, I think we have to be a lot more competitive than before, right? I think before we could be kind of standoffish in terms of businesses, but because people didn't have much of a choice. You had to be in Palo Alto. But I think right now, um, you know, because people aren't coming here, right? Um, I think the city has to be much more competitive in attracting businesses and making it easy to do business here. Because I look at other cities like
I
Redwood City,
agree.
they're just
I
truly
think
humming, right? Right. So it's not like there's a humongous downturn and nobody's buying anything. It's also just it's so hard to do business in our city that, essentially uh you know, they go other places, right? And I had people tell me that, hey, we're not Palo's too difficult to do business in. We're gonna go somewhere else.
I think it has to be a priority unless Palo Alto wants to turn back into a bedroom community like Los Altos Hills or
Yeah.
which I think we don't.
Well, we lose all of our services, right? I think that's not a
Yeah,
good.
I
I mean,
think we
I like
don't.
Palo Alto because, unlike some other places where you have to drive everywhere, I mean, you could,
Right.
there's a lot of things like nearby, but if those businesses can't thrive, they are going to shut down.
The other thing, again, it's based on a matter of belief, not so much data, but there's obviously a momentum effect to everything. Once when places are in, when they're popular, when people start coming, then more people start coming,
Yeah,
and so on. Sometimes you have the problem of too much, there's no parking.
yeah,
So all these things you're talking about regulation, and there might be 15 different factors, and each of them might be responsible
yeah,
for a piece of it. But once they start all add up and momentum goes in one direction, I think it does tend to continue. There's a inertia in a little sense, the word that things can be speeding up and or slowing down. And sometimes you have to address a lot of different factors to make a difference. And each one makes a little piece of that
yeah,
difference, but all together they can turn things around in one direction or the other direction.
yeah, absolutely. Like, we have the street closure on California Avenue, right? And if you look at what some other cities have done, like they've closed streets, they've really kind of spruced it up quite a bit. But our closure looks like it's a shanty town, right? It's like temporary tents. And this looks really very temporary, right? And I've been pushing the city manager like crazy to get something done sooner, but he's saying, "Oh, it's going to take 10 years." I'm like, "What the hell? Like, why does it take 10 years to do a streetscape, right?" I mean, that also makes it tough, right? I mean, it makes it tough to attract people. People think that the street's under construction or something, so they kind of shop there, right? So that probably also doesn't help.
You would hope the new city building there and all these apartments that are going in would help it. I don't know why. Um,
But the street, it looks
but
like,
it seems
this,
like an area
it's,
that's
the
poised
street,
to thrive.
you have this orange barrier, right? And it looks like it's a very temporary thing. So if someone
Yeah.
that doesn't know and you have the cones out, you kind of think that
Yes.
it's like not open for business, right? And so I don't think that helps either.
I go there regularly. Actually, I happen to mostly ride my bike there because I don't live too far. Speaking of bike lanes, but Um, yes, I'm aware of that. Yes.
Yeah. So I think we, like you said, like does things like this and a bunch of other things that just makes it tough to do business, right? And I think we need to fix that.
Where is supporting the business community and sort of the um, e- economic situation on the council priorities this year?
We have council priorities, but I found out after I'm on my eighth year now that um it's a little bit more of a check the box type thing. It doesn't really change anything. It's at least I haven't seen any effect, but it doesn't really matter what the priorities are because it doesn't really seem to change anything. Um, I mean, I think what we got to do is like not take 10 years to do a streetscape, right? We should do it in 1 year or 2 years, right? Not 10 years. Like 10 years is like 5 times too long. So, I think, instead of taking 3 years to get a permit for a smoothie shop, it should take like 6 months or less, right? I think, it's just basic operational things, right? Um, I think we just need to make it easier for these businesses to survive because they're shutting down, they're moving, right? They're shutting the stores down here.
And how is the council reacting to that? And, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but how is the council in general reacting to that?
I think it depends on who you talk to, right? For me, I don't like the fact that, just to get a new streetscape is taking forever. I don't like that. Some other council members maybe are a little bit for that. You know, I think I think that, I think the permitting process is atrocious. We need to fix it. So some of us are kind of for that, but I don't think a majority is. So I think it depends on which topic, right? I think anytime there's a clear majority, I think we'll see change. But if there's not a clear majority, you're not gonna, I don't think there's a consensus around the permitting process. I don't think there's a consensus around the streetscape. So I think for those kind of things, you don't see much action.
All right, now it's probably
Mhm.
a good time to start concluding the conversation, just due to timing.
Okay. Well, thank you very much
Yeah, thank you
for
for sharing your
talking to me.
opinions. I
I
appreciate it.
appreciate it. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.